if they're not on fire, so to say, in a good, healthy spot, how can they coach you to be in a good, healthy spot as well? Welcome to the Avenu Workout Podcast, where we're combining our two favorite things, is working out and podcasting together to bring you a quick little conversation and a follow-along workout. Today, just for fun, I'm going to don the mask on here just to kind of help people see what's it like working out with the mask on. Can you still talk? Can you still gonna huff and puff and whatever? And as Cass says, I ramble along too much. Yeah. Maybe this might slow me down. This might slow me down. So I'm gonna start off with the warm up here. The workout will be down the side. You follow along with me. Cass is gonna introduce the topic to it all, and I'll hopefully be standing at the very end of all this stuff.
You will be. You're a pro.
I'm gonna get after it. 45 seconds of work, 15 seconds of rest. Ready? 3, 2, 1, here we go.
I believe this is a podcast workout or workout podcast number 6. So we've covered a variation of different topics, and today we're going to talk about a follow-up of Brent's previous email last Wednesday talking about mental health. There was just a questionnaire, keeping it anonymous for anybody who filled it out. What were some of the responses that you got, Brent?
Well, actually, it's very interesting that out of all the surveys that we've sent out, who would have guessed this was the lowest responsive one that we've had? So typically we get about 100 or 150 responses when we send out surveys. This time around, we got 9.
Oh, wow.
So there is this little bit of a kind of stigma, I guess if you will, when it comes to even talking about this. And you're saying, hey, this is anonymous, we're not going to do anything. The 3 questions are pretty straightforward. When we asked them was just, what do you do to take care of your mental health as one, and then on the flip side of it all is, do you talk up? Do you speak up about it? Is there an outlet for you here or there? And then lastly was, what do you feel holds most people back? Yep, I forgot my legs there.
It's the mask.
Yeah, it is. Holds most people back from speaking up about their mental health. And the biggest response was the stigma.
The stigma,
of it all.
So I think for ladies, it's a little bit different, right? I'm sure everyone could agree to that. For me, it is going to therapy when you need to, grabbing a friend to go do something with, whether it's going for a walk or working out together, doing something physical. I really believe there's a component to physically working things out, mentally working things out, talking things out, like kind of doing it in that fashion. But for guys, it's a little different. It's a little harder to take that first step.
It is, very much so, only because, from a guy standpoint, we don't want to talk about our feelings too much. And then if you go and you meet somebody, well, right now you're not really meeting anybody for drinks. So it'd be really awkward if you never really talked about things like this that are kind of touchy-feely things. And then all of a sudden you call your buddy up and you say, hey, guess what? I'm struggling. That would be kind of odd, I think. Whereas from a female's perspective, I would imagine just easier to do.
Right. When
you call up your friends and you say, hey, I'm really struggling. From a guy's standpoint, we see that as weakness. Oh man, I don't want to admit that I don't have it all together.
Right.
That life isn't as perfect as maybe what I've made it out to be. So that's why I think where the stigma comes back onto the guys is that we've never really done it.
Right.
So it's like, how do we begin to take those steps? Like, from a girl, from a female's perspective, what are the lessons that we can learn?
Yeah.
That could help us start to speak up.
Well, I think for guys, it's like just slowly starting to share the story. Like, I'm trying to think of an author out there. Does one come to mind to you that's like shared his story of things he's gone through? What about Lewis Howes? Lewis Howes. He's pretty
open about it. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And he's found a good outlet for it, and he talks about those things. But then, again, it's easy to see once somebody's on the other side of it.
Right.
About how it's easy for them. Oh, he's already there.
That first step was not easy, though, I bet.
He wrote the book on it.
Right.
He's past the stigma. He's different. His story is not like mine. I got a worse story than his, or my story isn't as bad as his, so it's not worth speaking up about. So we just try to keep it inside and not really say too many things about, you know, what's really truly kind of going on deep down inside of our day-to-day lives.
Right. What's interesting to me is that when we talk about our deep, good friendships and relationships with people, probably one of the things that you would say would be a good value of that relationship is like the vulnerability that you have with one another, that you can talk things out. So it's just disheartening a little bit to know that sometimes guys don't even have that, you know?
Yeah, no, it's tough. And I remember the first couple of times I told, you know, some of my good friends, you know, my story, and it was, in my mind, it was this huge ordeal, where to them, it wasn't, I mean, yes, they were concerned, they were considerate, they were offered a lot of empathy, but it wasn't as big to them as I made it out in my head. I thought they were going to completely treat me differently, that they were going to talk to me differently, thought maybe they might send text messages that didn't include me on it. But it was more the story I made up in my head about how, you know, I was going to be treated on the other side of it all. When in reality, you know, one of them just a couple of weeks ago called me up and he said, hey, you know how you told me that stuff about you? Well, X, Y, and Z about me. And it just almost gave someone permission.
Yeah.
Not immediately, but I gave them permission to say, hey, it's okay. We all got our stories. We can all work through these things. Whether yours is something that was kind of, I think, maybe bathed in shame as mine was, or it's just like adversity. You know, you had a rough childhood.
Right.
You know, maybe a parent was bad. You know, maybe you were in a bad car wreck. Maybe, you know, things didn't work out the way that your parents divorced. You know, someone unfortunately died at an early age. Like, it can be all sorts of things.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of, have we done what we're supposed to do to work through these things and to process them, talk about them as we go through it, because as we've said many a times, there's a great book out there called The Body Keeps the Score.
I was just thinking that.
Yep. All right, then I'll let you shed some light.
Well, you read the book, I did not. But it talks about when we essentially, correct me if I'm wrong, but when we bottle these things up, when we don't deal with whatever traumatic event has gone on in our life, our body does keep score. So we think those things kind of are just something that mentally or emotionally happened to us, but yet our body keeps the score physically. So there will be at some point that your body starts to revolt against what you're keeping bottled in, if that's a good way to explain it.
It is a different form of PTSD. Not a different form, I think that's better. It is a form of PTSD. Your body remembers it. Just as you might know somebody who suffering from PTSD, or even in your own life, that if a song comes on and it triggers that emotion to where you might want to shed a tear, or it makes you really excited, like there's a cord in your body, so to say, wrapped around your heart, and it pulls at those emotions, and your body does honestly keep the score. Now, if it's a positive emotion, that's awesome. If it's something that's more negative, and you've been carried around for a while, what that does to the body over years and years and years will start to finally just eat away at your body.
Right.
Oops, wrong side. Start to eat away at your body and cause a lot of issues that end up becoming kind of almost like the armor, so to say. If you can look at someone who's maybe been in a stressful situation and you know their recovery through it all is the armor they wear as far as the body weight that they carry with them. Or something else could be, you know, the blood pressure's high, the cholesterol's high. Like all these things are just
even
markers.
Like gut issues and things like that, right?
That was about to say is the next thing. So you say is, you know, all this stress gets into your stomach, which they say your stomach is truly your first brain, which is fascinating because reading through all this stuff, you have one kind of major like nervous part of your body that runs through your head. You have 9 different little veins, interconnections. So think of like, you know, 6'10", 59, 40, 45 for those of you here in Houston. And you think all that interchanges into your stomach versus a simple little, I say feeder road, but a simple feeder road leading into your brain. So it is pretty fascinating to think about, like the foods that we eat and all that gut bacteria, like the garden, so to say, in your stomach is just churning and burning, whether it's healthy soil or whether it's, laced with all the chemicals and, all the fertilizers and the GMOs and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm. So we're wanting to be a community that's allowing for that to happen. We believe in it greatly, that it's so important. And whatever that looks like, I think it's going to look different for everybody, different pace, different timing.
Yeah, I think what we're trying to do more than anything is just even start the conversation. Yeah. It's just like, hey, you know what? We as the leaders here at Avenu, coming down to each one of you and even just talking to everybody on our team, we get help, coaching, if you will, therapy, if you will. We make sure that's part of being part of the team to make sure that they are healthy mentally, mm-hmm. whether that's taking care of issues with themselves, relationships they have, because if they're not on fire, so to say, in a good, healthy spot, how can they coach you to be in a good, healthy spot as mm-hmm. well? So it's just kind of like if we didn't eat right, sleep right, train right, how could we possibly be a good leader for you? That's what we always say here at Avenu, is we're trying to be leaders leading leaders, regardless of whatever position you might have, mm-hmm. at work, at home, or in the community with it all.
Ooh, adding up.
Starting to add up. Not because of the heavy breathing inside the mask, but because it's a heavy and hard, challenging workout.
He's got that plastic thing on inside of his mask. I think you did a video on that recently. Yep. If you guys have not tried that out, I would definitely highly recommend it. Get the extra large, not medium, small, or extra small. It's a little too tight on the face, but the extra large has worked perfectly. And then it just keeps the mask away so you can breathe and talk better, and people can hear you.
Part of it looks like a muzzle.
It does.
On a dog's mouth.
Appropriate for Brent.
But as you can see, there's no hindrance to the ability to speak. Yeah, the mask rides up and down, a little high, a little low sometimes. But for those of you who might always look for a reason to stop and have a chit chat, you can just say that you're fixing your mask. Mm-hmm. And it'll give you a good reason to stop and work things out and stuff. But even part of this, with the mask and everything, it is just kind of show you, say, hey, we all have limitations that are placed upon us. Sometimes they're from our past, with the stories that we carry around, the chapters of life that we might have lived through, gone through, and how they drive our behaviors. And even when you come into the gym, not only do we all have a small piece of that, but also on the flip side, we're slowing you down, so to say, with the mask, and requiring just one more thing just to make it a little bit more of a challenge for you. But this whole podcast is just meant to say, you can do it. You'll still get the same workout. Yes, it might take a couple of times to get used to it, but at the end of the day, it's actually not that bad. Mm-hmm. It's pretty easy. So now if I want to make kind of an ugly face or something like that, she can't see it.
Yeah.
The thing is now she's going to be watching my eyes more than anything.
You can see it.
She can see my eyes. So I can't do my roll of my eyes as easy. So with that as easy, I'm going to have to let you help me out on this, because
yes,
this is a big grand finale.
This is 45 seconds, right?
Yeah.
Doing such a great job.
Yeah. Thanks.
We hope you guys have enjoyed these workout podcasts just as much as we have. If there is a topic that you guys would like for us to discuss, feel free to pass it along to us. We would love that. We want to hear what Cassie and Brent have to say about this, or what the Avenu community has to say about this. That would be fun. So if you guys have any ideas, send them our way. Brent is almost done here.
Yeah, but I still got 45 seconds. You're trying to land the plane early.
Oh, I thought you did one finisher.
No.
I'm sorry, you guys.
Yeah. I was like, wow, it's going to be awesome. You're going to kick me out of this, but I have to be honest with you. Because
my bad.
There's a template to these workouts.
I only had to do one when I was doing the workout.
Well, yeah, so there we go. Last 45 seconds with it. The very end. Yeah.
Yeah. Now next week, I'm gonna be back in the hot seat, okay, you guys? Not promising I'm gonna work out with the mask on, although I do, but we might just change it up and do it with the mask
When I do
off.
get done with this, I'll quickly take the little silicone piece out and let you see it right before we sign off. If you didn't get a chance to see the other video, but do take these videos, pass them along, subscribe up on the YouTube channel. That's the best way to keep them coming to you. We're trying to do each week. So that was that. If you can see, just inside here, it fits just on top of the mask, just on top of the mouth. It keeps it off, completely off of your mouth. As you can see, I was able to talk.
If you don't have something to fit it into, it still works just as nice underneath the mask and stays still.
Technically, I think that the disposable masks work a little bit better even than these, kind of reusable ones. So thank you again so much. Hope you enjoyed it.
Thank you guys.
See you next time around.
See you next time.